Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you for making it to the final video in this Shadow and Ego Self series. I am Carly from Embody Nadora, which offers you a space to come home to who you are and embody your truest self. If you find anything of what I say here interesting or insightful, we hope that you come and join us through these journeys and more. If you're interested, you will find a link down below. So in this video, we are talking about the wholest aspect of ourselves, the all-encompassing, inclusive soul self. This is where the ego and the shadow come together as two halves of our identity, completing that original separation of self. And that's this ego and shadow work. It's what this work is all about, bringing the two back together to merge with self and allow light to fill us so that we no longer have anything to hide. So this higher aspect of self is the centered self and is often what I call the watcher, because it has the ability to just passively witness all other aspects of self and then lovingly hold space for each and gently guide them back into a state of ease. But this has to be done with awareness, because all these other aspects of self need to give permission for this to happen, or else they resist and put up a fight. Now, this is really important work, especially for the world as we are experiencing it these days, because this is a time of really stepping up and taking personal responsibility for healing our individual wounds that are all tied up into the collective wounds that we are all carrying. The universe as a whole benefits each time a soul embraces the darkness, transcends duality, and stands in totality of who they are. And duality, or our ideas of duality, play a big part in our resistance to do this work. If the ego and the shadow are the aspects of self that carry the wounds and the facades of who we are, then our soul self is the light that holds us together through integration, not separation. As the watcher, it sees who we truly are, and this is where we can sit when we become aware and conscious of these other aspects of ourselves. At first, in reflection, after we have experienced something, like playing it back and reviewing our role, but eventually with more practice, more and more practice, our awareness deepens and our wait to shift into reflection mode shortens until we are able to sit in this place as the witness in the present moment and then be completely non-reactive. That's when we know healing is complete for that aspect of self. And when we do this, the more we do this, the more we give others strength and belief and the permission to do the same. So remember that the soul self embraces ego consciousness, shadow aspects, the masculine, feminine polarities, and the collective unconscious into one embodied presence. The soul self is the combination of everything we are now, everything we have ever been, and everything that is within our potential to become, meaning that it is who we truly are, and therefore is the recognition of the goodness, the godness, and the God or creation source and force within us. And the moment the self is experienced can be thought of like growing up. We begin to mature through self-realization and recognize that in being an individual, we serve the greater collective oneness. And this is the beginning of the next phase of our journey, where we consciously choose to seek that which is beyond self and to express our unique completeness within the collective mass unconsciousness in the form of pure creation. So throughout history, the soul self has been given many names: the inner self, the higher self, the Christ consciousness, the divine, the Buddha nature, spirit. Yet, despite being familiar with many of these terms, so many of us are still yet to personally understand the soul self and its roles within our lives. So what I'm hoping you find within this video is something to inspire you to transform this concept of soul or higher self from an intellectual idea into an experiential feeling that stirs you into an action of intentionally seeking, because regardless of what we call this core aspect of self, it is our truest nature. And deep down, we all feel this underlying resonance with this concept of soul. We recognize something sacred and divine within us that feels almost unlimited. And it is this knowing of our authentic self, this light, vibrational state of being that we can feel completely free in, because even though our limiting perceptions of self that are portrayed through the ego and the shadow aspects practice blocking out this light, the soul self is beyond the conditions of these fears, wounds, and limiting beliefs. And when you know that, when you truly embody that as a belief, how can you want anything but to reconnect and remember that loving and empowering, uplifting version of yourself? Completely beyond form and labels, your soul self can be reached absolutely anywhere, anytime. And as a practice, you can come to recognize the fullness and the richness of the moments that you are opening up to the wisdom and insights of this part of yourself, and just general vibrancy of the soul to work through, play through, and experience through you. You may notice sensations arise within your body, like your chest, your belly, your head, etc., etc. Maybe a feeling of inner stillness or intuition and compassion or deep knowing. And there are so many ways to explore this presence and awareness through automatic writing, oracle or intuitive readings, dream work, journaling, just contemplation and meditation, or even doing body work like tapping or qigong or yoga. One of the biggest reasons why we struggle to connect with our soul selves is that we are carrying too much mental and emotional baggage, which all needs to be sort of culled and surrendered and released. And this is the topic of the last two videos in this series: how and why to practice letting these ego and shadow ideas go, turning inward, and looking at all the assumptions and beliefs and ideas and conditions that are causing us to feel separate and limited. And in that, we uncover that we are and can only ever be the only thing that stands in our own way. And the most beautiful part of all of this is that because it's not about denying any part of who we are, we find more and more deeper ways of loving ourselves. And in that, we find more and more deeper ways of loving others. And as this practice opens your heart wider and wider, it also becomes a direct pathway to a deeper relationship with your soul. The more love you express, the more your life expands, and the more wholly you're able to embody your soul self. So if any of this resonates and calls to you at all, I want you to know that all those feelings of belonging and empowerment and freedom and ease are not just a result of getting to the end of this journey. They are effects of being on the journey. And so the moment you choose to turn inward with intention and awareness, you create this place within you, this soul space of connection and self conversation that becomes like the ground zero for all of your healing and growth that follows. And the more you experience this coming home to yourself, to this soul space, the more your entire system transitions into ease, slowing down within the nervous system of the body, moving towards balance within the heart, and dropping down out of that noisy and busy mind. Of course, shifting into this natural state of being and awakening to your authentic self can only ever happen in the present moment. And many of us are constantly swept up in the task focused, keep busy mental world because we are actually afraid to slow down and experience how we really feel. But that's where the healing is. It's in the feeling. And this is why combining the works of psychology and spirituality with heart-centered work is so good, because we can detangle all the old programs and recreate new empowered ones at the same time. The truest, most authentic and natural representation of who we are is all encompassing and actually beyond anything that I could ever describe to you in words. However, I hope you have felt enlivened and uplifted, even just a little bit here, and that you begin to actively work to reconnect to your own inner truth and come home to who you are.